Hello, good day and welcome to this session on functions of order processing. At the end of this session, you should be able to state the functions of order processing as well as explain order picking strategies. So basically, when we talk about order processing, it's just about how customer orders are received in the warehouse and the orders are picked and packaged and sent back to the customers to satisfy their given need or their identified need. So when the warehouse receives customer orders, let's say a customer places an order for a given set of goods and they receive the orders from the customers, they undergo certain processes or they undertake certain activities on those received orders, which is otherwise known as the functions of order processing. So some of the processes that they engage on or they undertake on customer orders include order preparation, order transmittal, order entry, order filling, and order status reporting. So these are the 5 main functions that are performed on a given customer order within a typical warehouse or a distribution center. They will be discussed individually in subsequent sessions. So the first one, which is order preparation. After the customer order has been received into the warehouse or by the warehouse operator or by the salesperson, they are supposed to prepare the order in a given form that the customer wants it. So maybe the customer has ordered for a different range of items, stationeries, consumables, among others. So you are supposed to prepare and make the order available to be delivered to this customer. So it consists of taking and collecting articles in a specified quantity before shipment so as to satisfy customers' orders. So when we receive the orders from the customer, the activity where you pick these orders and make them available in a given acceptable form is what we term as the order preparation. So in order to prepare the customer's orders, obviously in a typical warehouse or distribution center or in a typical store or supermarket, goods are stored in shelves or racks or whatever storage medium that they have. So the first step in preparing a customer order or the first step in processing a customer's order is to pick the items, and there are several picking strategies that an organization might undertake in picking or making the customer orders available. The first one is piece picking or picker to parts method. So this method can be seen as, for example, where maybe an organization or a warehouse receives 5 orders from customers. So the piece picking method is such that for each picking activity, we have to pick complete orders for one customer. So let's say for the 5 customer orders that we have received, one customer requires some units of stationery, some units of consumables, and some units of electronic appliances. The piece order picking method is where at each picking expedition or at each picking round, you select the complete order of one customer, and until you are done, you don't move to the next customer. That is what a typical piece picking method is thought to be. Then with the zone picking, this is where the order picker in the warehouse picks customer items. So let's say there is an aisle for stationeries, there is a part in the warehouse for consumables, there is a part in the warehouse for electronic appliances. The zone picking is where for all the 5 customer orders that the organization will receive, they will identify the common characteristics. So assuming all the 5 are requiring some elements of stationeries, and because stationeries are positioned at one area in the warehouse, they will accumulate all the stationeries for all the 5 orders and pick the orders from the stationery points before coming to identify the common electrical appliances. Then they will move to the electrical appliances section in the warehouse or supermarket to pick those. Then they will come back and put all of them together into the various 5 orders of the customers. Then the wave picking is where the order picker in the warehouse will move through the aisles to identify customer orders. So they will go to the stationery aisle to pick the stationery items, then move to the electrical appliance aisles to pick the items there, then vice versa. So it takes more of a wavy approach. That's why the name implies wave picking method. Then the sorting systems method is where the warehouse operator sits at a particular place, and then the items are placed on either an electronic or automated system, or a typical example is a conveyor. The items are placed on a conveyor and the picker is expected to pick individual orders and put them together to make all the 5 customer orders and be sent to them. Then the pick to box method can be seen as where the item is picked, but they are not put together at a later point in the warehouse to be packaged, but the items are picked in a format such that immediately they are done picking, they email or they dispatch it to the customer in the acceptably packaged form. So unlike the other methods where you collect orders, then you come and put them together and send them to customers, with the pick to box method, it means you have, let's say as the name implies, there is a box that you have intended that after packaging you just close the box and send them to the customers. But unlike the other methods, you will collect them into probably a tray or a trolley, then you come back to package them to send them to customers. Then let's consider the piece picking as an order preparation approach or a picking strategy, as has been described, is where you pick orders in one at a time. You don't break bulk. Then we have the case picking. So the case picking is where you pick items on a case by case basis. So common items. You pick common items to be made available to customers, unlike the piece picking where you can pick a lot of items into one. The case picking is where you pick items because they have some common characteristics in nature. And then the pallet picking. So the pallet is what we use to keep items unit loads for a forklift truck to lift. So the pallet picking is more or less like consolidated picking method, where you pick bulky items from the warehouse to be made available to customers or to be made available for shipment. Second order processing function is order transmittal. So this is where you transfer the request of the orders from the customers to the place where it will be handled. So if you are operating on a typical electronic system, you receive a customer order online from a telephone call or something, or an online platform, then you make it available to the person who is responsible for processing the order. That's what we call order transmittal. We have order entry. So after you have received the customer's order, the system has to recognize that this order has been placed into or to the organization, and it is required to be fulfilled. So this is what we term as the order entry. Then the order filling is where you consider the number of orders that you process in a period without shortages or stockouts or the need to back order, and is usually expressed as a percentage of the total number of orders that is processed within a given period. So there are certain costs that are associated with processing or filling customer orders, and that's what we call the order filling costs. Then the fifth one is the order status reporting, where you would have to prepare an order status report, which usually identifies the delivery status for each item in order, so that if the items have been fully packaged, the report will have to indicate it. If the item has been dispatched, you have to indicate it. If the item has been made available to customers, this report will have to indicate all these information. So the typical data that order status report will have is the suppliers or the warehouse information, a reference number which identifies the order in question, details of the order including the items, quantity and price, order status information, as well as explaining a statement explaining the status of the order information.